I didn't realize what I was getting into. You know, I didn't know we could grow this business this much, but I didn't realize that I was going to have this journey to do all this stuff.
I think anybody who knows my dad, they're lucky. They're lucky to know a business person like my dad. There's not a lot of them around anymore.
My father worked for a company that moved out from Buffalo to Alden in 1960. He was doing very well. They had borrowed a lot of money, had some investors, and my dad was on the board of directors. And he kind of looked around and said, somebody's going to get it here. And I think it's going to be me. The company was negotiating with a company called Parker Hannafin. My dad got fired. My dad went back to Parker, and he said, you need a good distributor here, and I'd like to be it. And they said, we'd like to have you. And my dad said, I don't have any money. And they said, don't worry about it. So 24 hours later, he had the franchise. We got a name, and we worked out of the house. I was 16 years old, junior in high school. The family room turned into an office. It was a really interesting thing for me because I got to set up the inventory system in our garage. Then I went to college, and after college graduation, I had to go in the Army. So after the Army, my dad said, now I want you to go out and find a job and work for 3 to 5 years and then come back to me. And then my dad called me. I want to put an office in Syracuse. Would you like to do that for me? I said, sure, but I make a lot of money, so you're going to have to pay me a little more. He said, well, how much to make? $9,300 a year. So would you pay me $10,000? He said, oh, sure. My father and I got along tremendously. Never had an argument. 2 years later, we came out to Lancaster here and built a 7,500 square foot building. And my dad walked through it and said, holy mackerel, this is so large. How can we ever fill it? 2 years later, we doubled the size of it. And then 10 years later, we had to move across the street, so we bought 6 acres of land on this parcel right here. So he asked me to move back from Syracuse and take over. He just couldn't take anymore. He made me the president. My father and I would come in every Saturday morning, and sit down, do a little planning or whatever. He'd bring a few pastries in, we'd have a cup of coffee or just talk. And he said to me, he said, once I didn't feel I ever had the confidence in myself to do what we're doing now.
My grandfather and father have done such a good job of my grandfather starting the business. My father just really putting the business just so close to his heart, same with my grandfather. And I feel like it really is a family thing for us. So I've always loved coming to the business, working, and come on Saturdays with my dad and run around in the back. I always wanted to work here. It was kind of always just something I wanted to do.
I have 3 daughters, and so during our lifetime, they all worked here in some capacity. And Elizabeth, she'd always call me and talk about business. I mean, she liked business, I could tell. And sometimes she'd talk too much business, and I'd say, okay, I heard enough about this.
No matter where I am, people know and love my father. They always, oh, Terry Galanis is your dad. He's such a nice guy.
And she's a great leader, so I'm happy about that.
To be able to continue that legacy is very, very special.
I look back about these last 40 years, one of the things that I was really, really proud of, we were doing about $30 million. I think, we really didn't have a 5-year plan. So I put out a 5-year plan. And everybody said, we'll never make this and we'll do this. They made the 5-year plan in 4 years. And I said, you guys are really capable of doing more than I can even say.
What we're doing now is really setting up the business to be double what we are. And we will get there much faster. The groundwork has been laid. It's been a lot of years to lay that groundwork.
There's a tremendous amount of satisfaction in achieving a goal. We just do that. It's just a natural built into us. I just enjoyed watching everything grow, never looking back, but knowing looking forward, we had to grow the company. This is our mission, and this is what we're going to do.